Hello and welcome to What Are You Saying? #Ways, where we talk about topics in the news as it affects us all. I am Osayiwa Mesale, looking very angelic, if I can say so myself.
You're actually the top spirit.
I mean, top spirit. See, I don't have a choice. You know some things you cannot control.
Yep.
You just hand it over to the Lord.
You are the motivational speaker.
My sister, aspire to perspire. Where you cannot control where the economy is going. Today you think it is okay. Tomorrow you just check your account. Everywhere is red. So you just hand over the things to the Lord. The good Lord will take care of His daughter. He will not let me fall. Have you know so?
Definitely.
How are you, ladies? How was your weekend? Let me start with Bofa. How are you?
I'm fine. I had a really nice
I love your hair.
Thank you.
I can never be bold with colors when it comes to my hair. I don't know how people do it.
I'm just trying it out.
I admire it on people.
Yeah.
And it looks good.
I feel like it will look good on you. Maybe like red.
I know it will, but I'm not a colored black. I think Mary too. I've never seen you in colored hair.
No, I have. Haven't you?
I've never seen.
I think I've been very conserved, when it has to do with colors. But I've literally
How did you say they described you again?
Subconsciously serious.
Yes, that's
a lot.
That's who she is.
Some politicians sometime, I think it was during some interview, so we met and there was the pictures now came. I was like, you're looking serious. I was like, but that was a smile on the picture, and he said, you are subconsciously serious.
I love that.
Very true.
All right. Okay. So if you're yet to subscribe to our YouTube channel, I won't say this more than once because there's a lot of things going on our YouTube page that we post that we don't show on TV. So do well to go to our official Upgrade TV to subscribe and click on the notification button and share the link. There's no harm in sharing.
Yeah.
All right. So tonight, in partnership with Enough is Enough, we will have a quick chat with Benga Chesang to discuss the recent Nigeria data breach crisis with the National Management Commission security failure that happened. I think people just glossed over it, but a lot of things happened, and I'm happy that Enough is Enough is picking it up. So thank you so much for joining us, Benga. Oh, shoot. Did we lose him again? All right. So you know what? We'll bring in Benga much later, right? Tonight we're having a conversation around the role of influential figures in shaping a nation. And here's what we found as today's quote. True leadership lies in guiding others to success, in ensuring that everyone is performing at their best, doing the work they are pledged to do, and doing it well. This was from Bill Owens. Now, to join us in this conversation is Peter Akah, an advocate for a new Nigeria. And when we open our phone lines, we'd really love to hear your thoughts on the conversation and what you think influential people can do to better our nation. But quickly, let's run off on a break. When we come back from that break, we want to see what we found in today's news. International Town Criers Day is celebrated on the second Monday in July each year. This day honors the historical role of town criers who traditionally served as public announcers in towns and cities, delivering news, proclamations, and announcements to the community. Now, the day is often marked with events that celebrate the tradition of town crying. This can include reenactment of town criers' duties, competitions among town criers, and educational activities about the history and significance of the ancient profession. It is a reminder of the importance of communication in communities throughout history and a tribute to those who kept townspeople informed in past times. So, come, come, come. We don't come again. The king is calling all the... I used to watch all those epic movies in Nollywood. The king is calling all the maidens to assemble as there shall be a maiden
So you
ceremony.
never witnessed that? in real time.
We are once here now. I know they don't
Me
go
too.
village.
No, but so I literally don't think that it has to happen in a village setting.
Well,
I experienced it.
Well,
Yeah, so sometime in Calabar, IBB way to be precise, there's a community. Honestly, I'm not joking.
Calabar, you guys are traditional.
Oh well.
Isn't that like going to the village? Or
That's
it was-
not
No,
village.
something in
Calabar is
town?
not
But you know that everywhere,
Yeah,
everywhere is
someone's
actually a
village.
village.
That's what I'm saying. They are quite traditional there. So I grew up in the north in Kaduna. So I don't think I ever heard any.
Oh yeah, so they used to make that announcement, like you would just have within that community like that certain axis. I've forgotten the name of the street, and then you have the town crier. So it was something like I witnessed. There's going to be sanitation, or nobody should come
Oh
out.
yeah,
all
they
this
did
kind of
that.
stuff.
They did
Yeah,
that. They did that
you know,
for
all those-
sanitation. They did
yeah,
that. I
so
thought it's
that's
the
the
one
time-
that the village king is
No,
calling.
it's not that type now. But
That's
you
the
know
one I
the town
watched in
crier.
London.
Yeah.
Well, that's true. I think I heard and the immunizations as well. I remember
Yeah,
when they used
so
to go around
those
to do the
communities-
immunizations.
Yeah,
they
when
always
the
Those
doctors
announce.
were
come
around.
back and say, hey,
That I
today
remember
nobody's
too.
expected to come out. Well, if I want to say it the way they used to say it, they say it in broken language. Or
Yeah.
talk
Or
about
in
English.
local language. Even.
Yeah, it's pidgin English now. They go come like this.
Make una no come up for house.
We don't come today. Oh. Today be saying na sanitation, they make nobody come out outside till 10 o'clock. Oh. Make everybody come clean their environment, clean their domot. Una don hear?
We don't hear.
You were so good.
They should have hired you.
You know, right?
The profession would not have died.
Yeah.
All right, who am I starting with? Let me start with you, Bofa. What did you find for us in today's news?
So something on enjoyment, Sha. It says the brewing industry is choking over high cost of raw materials. So if
Wow.
you're like, if you're someone who likes to drink, in the evenings, you like to chill out, that might not be happening for you very soon. You might have to drink water. Water is good. Aqua is always good. But the industry is really suffering. They say that it's been very difficult, getting more difficult to get the raw materials that they need to brew some of our favorites.
So
unfortunately.
even in, because we have a lot of brewing companies in Kaduna. And I heard that, my recent trip to the north in May, I heard that some of those companies had actually shut down.
Yeah.
So I don't even know.
When I saw the news, I actually then tried to dig up a bit. Some of them are shut down. Some of the international companies are also beginning to reconsider their presence as well.
Diageo just sold their company to Telegram Group. So I don't know what's going on.
So
It's the economy.
I think that it's unfortunate that it's a trickle-down effect and it's trickling down on
Every
other sector. So not
every
necessarily.
sector. Yeah.
But Nigerians always find a way. I remember some time where it was during the time where former President Olusegun Obasanjo was president at the time in the country, and petrol was selling for 100 and something, close to 200 naira per litre, and Nigerians were literally complaining. And I remember, Olusegun Obasanjo saying, "What are Nigerians talking about?
Like, what are you on
literally
about?"
buy beer for 200 and they are complaining they can't buy petrol."
Yep.
You see, Nigerians always, and that's why it looks as though
You cannot, the beer you buy 200 naira cannot, you can't consume what with so you cannot consume the beer that will fill your tank. You don't understand what I'm saying?
So in his comparison, it was like Nigerians are complaining about petrol being sold for 100 and
you are drinking just
something.
probably one bottle of beer. You cannot use one bottle of
6
And he's
beers
saying when they
petrol
can-
for your,
I-
worth of
for your
fuel to
car,
fill your
yeah.
car.
So he's
That's
rather
a
saying
very
that
terrible comparison.
It's-
no, he's saying that if you rather have money to buy beer, why can't you have money to buy petrol?
Let's move
which
on.
is essential.
That's not an argument, Uncle. Quickly, let's move on.
Anyway, so I found something. Mine is not about any sort of enjoyment. It has to do with human rights. A very unpleasant event that happened. There's been several reactions. Governor Muhammad Bago, I hope I got that correctly, Muhammad Bago of Niger State, recently ordered his security aides, if you look at the video, to slap an Islamic cleric at a public gathering. At the time, the incident occurred during an event that has sparked, like I said earlier on, controversial reaction, drawing widespread condemnation. Many have criticized the governor's actions, seeing them as an abuse of power and lack of respect for religious leaders. The event has also led to the call for accountability and respect for the rule of law in treatment of individuals, regardless of their status and, position. When I saw that video, I asked myself, are we still in the Stone Age? We no longer live in the Stone Age. We're in the 21st century.
Yeah, people are more
We're in a civilized, world,
Yeah.
and we can't have our leaders act, in a very inhuman way, acting indiscriminately without respect or regard, to people. We can't all go about slapping people regardless of what the offense is. Right. There's a civil way. In a civil society, you expect that there's a civil way things should be handled. It's just like, well, right now, you can't come into your office and start slapping everybody.
Yeah.
Regardless of what they have done, the offense, you just wake up, come to the gate, slap this one, and they say religion. No.
I think we should have it. We should have this as a conversation.
Yeah,
so for me,
because there are so many angles to it, but we don't have time. There are so many angles to this. As a cleric, they too, over the years, and this is not just Islamic clerics, all clerics.
Yeah.
They've also kind of like watered down their authority, their office, right?
Which has actually led to the...
Yeah. Why wouldn't this happen?
Yeah.
But let me bring in Gbenga Shesong in partnership with EIE. As I said earlier, he'll be discussing the recent Nigeria's data breach crisis by the National Management Commission security failure. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Are you there? So, Gbenga, if you can hear me, you are muted.
I can hear you. I'm unmuted. I don't know if you can hear me.
We can hear you now. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. So quickly, because we lost a little time with you, quickly, can you run us through what is happening, what happened, and because in case some people do not know what happened with our data being breached, tell us what happened and what is the current situation?
So for many years, thank you for having me this evening, by the way, and I'm glad to be able to shed some more light on this. For many years, we've had issues with data in Nigeria, and I'm going many years back just so that people don't think this is a very recent thing. We've lost data from various government agencies. Many people will remember INEC data at some points. Some people will remember airlines. Some people will remember from telecom companies. But because NIMC, the National Identity Management Commission, is the custodian of our national identity information, they are special, and we need to pay attention to what's going on with them. In March, some people may remember that FIJ, the online platform, released information about a platform called Express Verify that was selling the data of Nigerians. It was selling information that is obtainable from the NIMC database. Unfortunately, this was, the website went offline because of the report, and so it was difficult to prove. At the time, we sent some information. Paradigm Initiative wrote to the Identity Management Commission, we wrote to the Data Protection Agency and said to them, it should not be heard that our data is for sale the way it is happening. Of course, we were met with silence and denial. And so what we decided to do, because we knew, of course, that there were some other platforms that were doing this, because this has been happening for years and hasn't been addressed. So we decided to check, and we found out that another platform, anyverify.com.ng, was doing exactly the same thing. So this time, we archived the website's homepage and other details, and we set up a platform. We set up an account to, register on the platform. The account we used to purchase the name slip of a few individuals. And it was deliberate. The idea was, if we're able to, purchase the name slip of a minister, the head of the, data protection agency, someone from the judiciary, someone from, the legislature, we can then say to them, listen, the last time you said there was no breach. Now we're telling you there is a breach and we have proof. So do something about it. And we're very careful. We did not release the name slips because we got a name slip of the Minister for Communications and Digital Economy, Dr. Bosun Tijani. We got a name slip of the Director of the National Commissioner for the Data Protection Commission, which is a data regulator in Nigeria, Dr. Vincent Olatunji. The same thing, we have not released all of the names of people whose name slips we got, but safe to say that we got that of a senator, a ranking senator. We got the name slip of someone from the judiciary. And the reason we're not releasing names of everyone just yet is because we're filing a lawsuit, and we will prove in court, we will provide as evidence these name slips. We've had NIMSI go on TV. One of those times they called out my name and said I was parading fake documents, and I laugh. I laugh because when we do get to court and show them this document with the picture, with the name, the number, with the tracking ID, with the home address of the people who trusted NIMSI with their data, then we can make a decision to know if this is fake or this is real. So this is what has happened so far. And I guess I can share more if you have another question.
Session that Nigerians have been very careless in terms of updating their data to some, fishy, they call it nefarious website. And so how do we literally now address this issue of data infraction at a time where, it feels as though there's no problem? That's what NIMSI is saying.
So NIMSI is, and I'll say this with all sense of responsibility, NIMSI is being silly and is being careless. And I say that because, they're playing the ostrich game where they bury their head in the sand and they hope there's another disaster that happens and everybody forgets this. And that's not going to happen this time. That's why we're deliberately following up on it, because this is a national security issue, as they have said themselves. They've gone on TV to say, oh, Nigerians are giving their information to fishy platforms. Are they saying that the Minister for the Digital Economy gave his data to a fishy platform? Are they saying the data regulator did the same thing? Are they saying that a ranking senator and a leader in the judiciary did the same thing? What has happened? And as some of them, they've admitted that they have people who are their licensees, and they don't know if some of their licenses have done something. I mean, I was glad to hear the data protection regulator grant an interview, and he says they don't know where the leak is from. It could be someone on the inside who is doing, runs on the side. It could be that they have a licensee that has given illegal access to a secondary operator. But whatever the case is, it is absolutely important for NIMSI to stop playing this game, admit that, yes, something has happened. I mean, they were embarrassing themselves on TV a few days ago when they were trying to defend someone called himself an engineer. I trained as an engineer myself, and it was funny to hear him, speak in defense of the indefensible. So the challenge right now is that it is very clear to everyone who visited anyverify.com.ng before it was taken down. That has also been taken down, by the way, but we archived the website so that when we get to court, we can show the judge what it looked like. We've got screenshots to show what it looked like, and we've got these name slips to show the judge. Someone asked me, what if the judge rules against you? I said, well, no problem. We will just remind the judge that we do not, my lord, we do not aim to influence your judgment. You are the king of your court, but your name slip was also available for 100 naira. And so if everyone's name slip is available for 100 naira and NIMSI is claiming that it is not true, then no problem. Let's meet in court.
Absolutely.
Isn't that what they said last year, March? They can't go to court. So we'll meet in court.
Thank you so much, Benga. I just wish we had enough time to even ask a question around what this implies, because again, we're speaking grammar. To the average Nigerian, what does it mean for your details to be compromised, right? I wish we could share more. Like, can you say that in 2 seconds, so because we don't have time? What does that mean for the Nigerian?
It means that someone can pretend to be you. It means that someone can steal your identity, pretend to be you, commit a crime in your name, steal your money, get access to those things if your data is not safe. That is the implication.
Wow. Well, we thank you, Benga, and thank you to Enough is Enough for continuously, what's it called, looking out for the citizens. So we'll keep on following and monitoring the situation. Thank you so much for your time this evening. All right, thank you for staying with us. We'll take a short break now. When we come back from that break, we'll have our guest with us to have a conversation around how influential people can shape nations. Stay with us. We'll be right back. All right, thanks for staying with us. Now, influential people are known to have a profound impact in shaping nations across the world. Influential global figures such as Mahatma Gandhi in India, Martin Luther King Jr. in the US, Nelson Mandela in South Africa, Margaret Thatcher of the UK, Malala Yousafzai, a Pakistan activist, amongst all others, right, contributed to nation building in different ways. Here in Nigeria, the visionary leadership of Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe during the independence movement to the resilience of Fela Anikulapo Kuti in challenging societal norms through music. Nigeria's influential figures have also, shaped its cultural, political, and social landscape. All right, so join us to have this conversation is an advocate for a new Nigeria, a human rights activist, a content creator, Peter Akah. Is it Akas or Akah?
Akah.
Akah.
Very correct.
Also known as Randy Peters, that always make sure that people must give their life to Christ. Thank you so much. It's such a privilege to have you on the show.
It's an absolute pleasure.
I want to say, by the way, I love you. Like every time I'm on TikTok and I stay, I make sure that I listen to your skits because you just give me so much joy. I don't know, I just love the skits because it's just like there's a way you must connect it with your koboko that you have to give your life to Christ. So hearing you speak about what's it called, the things that happens in our nation and the things that are happening within the political landscape, I say yes, this is it. So you have to have some level of, so I get it that we're influential, we're gathering a lot of momentum when it comes to content, when it comes to creativity, when it comes to entertainment. But at the same time, right, for us to have any meaningful growth or impact in our country, Nigeria, we still have to have a blend where we are just not talking about all the things that we love to do, but we're also talking about the things that matter. So thank you so much again for joining us. First of all, I love your shirt, Justice for Nigeria.
Thank you.
We must find justice for Nigeria.
Nigeria.
So tell me, when you look at our nation today as it is, right, what do you think? Where do you think we are as a people? Is it as bad as it's painted, or maybe it's in our head?
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here once again. Nigeria is not just as bad as it is, or as it is represented. The truth of the matter is, without sounding as, a prophet of doom, whatever you think is the extent to which Nigeria is bad, it is actually worse. And the greatest tragedy about our country is knowing the fact that there is no rock bottom. There is no worst case scenario in Nigeria. The fact that things are this bad does not mean it cannot get worse. There was a time where we thought that maybe the former president Jonathan was so bad, we had to occupy Nigeria. People needed the president to leave. 8 years after change, our next level. People thought Buhari was so. In fact, part of the North, after shouting "Say Baba" for some time, started saying Bama so, meaning we do not want again. Now we are into another. So for even persons to begin to say that maybe Buhari was better, maybe Jonathan was better. So you ask yourself the question, are we making progress? Are we retrogressing? Are things actually getting better or even worse? So it is up to all of us to answer with the indices that we have on national development.
That's deep.
Very deep.
All right, so I think that, let's even delve into the issues of having influential people, in Nigeria, or influential people literally shaping, the landscape. We've seen the likes of, Nelson Mandela. You've seen a lot of them, even prior colonial era. We've seen those who actually are forefathers, the reason why we have independence and all of that.
Heroes past.
Heroes past, if you like to say. Do you think we still have heroes present in Nigeria?
First of all, what does it mean to be a person of influence? To be a person of influence, it means you have done certain things in certain quarters and you have succeeded. And you have gained the kind of prominence that your words or your actions begin to shape certain things and they carry some weight around. So the question about Nigeria and our sort of influence is asking ourselves the question that what exactly is our, passion about life? For you to be influential, you must be passionate about something. If you became influential, it's because you had an environment to thrive. You had opportunities that were given to you. Now, would you sit down and say, because you have had those opportunities, you have used them to climb the ladder, and now when you get to a point, you shut the door such that no one can go through that door again? The process should be that people should have a seemingly fair, easier shot because you had that opportunity. The persons you mentioned, Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther, these are people who saw a bigger assignment than themselves. They discovered that they were a small part of a very great thing. And the risk of being influential and not helping build society is knowing that even what you think is your area of influence can fizzle out before your eyes. Nothing is permanent. You might be a media mogul, you might be an influential actor, you might be an influential, whatever it is. And tomorrow you have a government that comes and is not tolerant to any of those things and upturns everything. Yeah. And also the influence that you so, adore is gone.
No, so I think that, we're literally taking it from the angle of what the people are before they become the influence. Yeah. If you look at the story of Nelson Mandela, if you follow through Nelson Mandela, Nelson Mandela did not become Nelson Mandela because he was Nelson Mandela. He became Nelson Mandela because of what he did.
He did, yeah.
So the question now is, do we have people who are literally, who are like Nelson Mandela? Can we point to Nigerians at this point in time? Can we look at anyone in any sphere and say, hey, this person is towing the lane of Nelson Mandela?
Well, is that even possible? You know why I say that? Is that possible? Because where we are right now, I see that a lot of people have activated survival mode.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So you know all this when they talk, say you have to have a cause that is higher than yourself. The person's the hunger cannot even allow the person
to have that.
Do you understand? So Nelson Mandela, right, had a level of, what's it called? Would I call it patriotism or call to just do something other than himself? That's why he could go through all that stress, eating different cockroaches and insects in the prison. Who are the people today? Do you understand? That would say, you know what? Let me forget that I am hungry. And there is a problem, there's a crisis in Nigeria. And you know what? Then build and see how we can then probably bring Nigeria out of that crisis.
To answer her question even directly, yes, there are people in Nigeria who are, passionate enough or patriotic enough to want to support and build their country. Just like Nelson Mandela. It was what he did that made him influential. But the issue about Nigeria is the patriotism will have to begin with the leadership. And your right to even, register your patriotism is tied to the extent to which the leadership of that country gives you the opportunity to thrive. How many persons are really ready to say, I want to stick my neck like Nelson Mandela? I can go through everything that he has been through. Nigerians at a point do not even see a need to be patriotic because they ask themselves, what exactly is in it for me?
And if I die?
If I die, I just die.
It would have been worthless.
I mean, we're talking about persons who died at the October 20th, 2020 toll gate issue. The government has not even come out to say if we even acknowledge that so number are dead. These are issues that you mentioned. Fela Anikulapo Kuti, who started, most of what Fela sang 30 years ago are still in Nigeria today as we speak. These are people, so there are Nigerians. What we just need to do is to connect the fact that we cannot just become so hopeless or helpless or despondent, but we must continue to see how those little trickles of passion that we have, those persons who are heroes present, as she called them, ignite the fire for us to get it done even today. If it were possible before, we can still do it today.
So I wanted to actually come in to say that to expect patriotism to start from the leadership is like trying to be unrealistic about nation building, right? People like Nelson Mandela, the Mahatma Gandhi, we call their names now, and they became leaders, like she said, they became leaders because of the resistance. At the point when they started resistance, they were just like normal people. They were like fowls who came out during the toll gates and who made music, who encouraged Nigerians. Nigerians have the capacity to build a nation, but you're not going to... I don't think that it's ideal to request that to start from the leadership. The problem is the leadership. They are the people that we need to resist, right? So to expect that your oppressor will also be your savior, unrealistic. So we have to start from recognizing that there are Nigerians who are already resisting. Perhaps we can band together, and we have issues now that people back in the day didn't have. I casually told a friend of mine who is in the military, how easy will it be to, try and resist people today the way that people did back in the day? And he said that before, communication travels very slow because the channels weren't quite as open as today. Today, if you plan the coup today, before you get home, they would have been waiting for you at your door. So some of the problems that we have currently are not the problems that people had back in the day when they were building resistance. So it's like we have to recognize what is important to us today, the people that we want to build with today, and build with them, and not require the states to do it. I don't know if that's something you agree with.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. So there are two things. We're talking about patriotism in terms of nation building, which has to begin with, the example will be set by the leaders. But now acknowledging that the leadership has failed,
yes,
and the people will have to begin a movement or a process of fixing it and holding government accountable, absolutely has to begin with the people. And that is why, as Nigerians, we must become uncomfortable with our current situation. Because whatever situation that you are ready to manage, you are not likely to change. If you continue to express hope, now just 4 years, after 8 years, it go come out. Where it is as we are as a nation today, we are almost at the brinks, at the tipping point. Nigerians must realize that the political system as it is today is literally the weapon formed against Nigerians. And the earlier that all Nigerians come together and say, look, set aside religious, ethnic differences, and let us be that small part of a great thing that does little things together, becomes a great thing to save this country in the best interest of all of us. That works in that way. It has to begin from the people realizing that.
So I'm happy you said that, and I want to come back to what Buffer said, but I think it glossed over the conversation. The challenges that we had when we were younger is not the challenges of today. Like she rightly said, if I just decide to say we're doing a small coup, before I finish this show, they go down, they wait for me. DSS don't wait for me. Perhaps I say, oh yeah, come and answer a question. And that in itself is a blessing. It means that, so if we piggy it back to the question, right? So let's focus now. So we're not looking for regular people trying to build that will become influential after what they have done. We already have influential people. I mean, just go on social media, go on TikTok, go on Instagram. Huge following. We have people with numbers, like massive numbers, right? So how do we use what we have today? Because again, don't forget the things that happened with X, the platform. How the government tried to shut it down and all of that, because a lot was going on. I mean, the success of Occupy the toll gate, the Lekki toll gate, only happened because we had a platform like X. Right? So how do we now translate that influence? What would it take, to translate those kinds of influence into things that will truly transform our nation?
It will begin by having conversations like what you are doing today. Nigerians need a champion. Even on my way here, throughout the conversation in the vehicle, at bus stops everywhere, everyone knows that there is a fundamental problem and it needs to be tackled. But how do we go about it is what is the question on the minds of every person. Anybody who has a following, who has a platform, must come to the understanding that you have a platform for a time where you can also use it to speak up. You are not just having a platform for the sake of it. Because the risk is that if you fail to fix the system, in no distant time, you may also become a victim. Being influential or having a strong followership does not insulate you from the problem. You might be able to travel overseas, you might be able to do this, but can you dodge a stray bullet if it hits you, like the lawyer who was killed in Akah some time ago? So Nigerians must first of all come to the realization that we are in a dilemma. We are our only solution. Now, how do we come together and have this conversation, put a spotlight on it, and begin to extend that hand of fellowship and say, look, what are our issues? How do we begin to solve them? Gradually, just as you admitted, the issue of NSAS began on X as a conversation. As it continues to build, it trickles down. Somebody begins to talk about it. Before you know that, it gathers steam and becomes what it became the last time. That is what will have to happen in Nigeria. Everybody will have to redirect their focus to where focus is needed. Take out your distractions and know that it is our lives. We are all victims. We no one talk, we no one talk, we no one die, we no one die. People are dying in Benue, Plateau, Zamfara. So do we fix it or do we continue to just talk?
You know what? So let's take a very short break, right? When we come back from that break, we'll continue this conversation. I think it's getting a lot more interesting. Stay with us. All right, thanks for staying with us. Now, if you just tuned in, we're having a discussion and we're asking about what we can do as influential people to shape nation, right? And we have with us Peter Akah. Now, please, let's hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join this conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-84663. Our phone line is also now open. The number to call is 070-2500-7749. Messi, you wanted to come in?
Yes, please. So I wanted to ask you about, we've talked about the methods, how and all of this happened. Because we already had, literally mentioned role models or like people whom we think did great stuff, and literally not we think it's in history book, the likes of Mandela, Martin Luther King, Margaret Thatcher. The list is almost endless. It was a non-violent resistant approach method, and protest was also part of it. They had, they employed methods such as, boycotting, civil disobedience, amongst all the tools. So I did like you to look at it. Let's talk about, one of the very common tools that we have seen, which is protest. We've seen that every other time that the people engage in a protest, which is usually peaceful, it gets, hijacked by, various elements. What are your thoughts? What do you think that, at this point in time, which is a very popular, method that has been used even across, different quarters. What do you make of this particular method that seemed to have been, deployed, especially during the, we see that the biggest was, the hashtag #EndSARS protest that happened. And we saw that that was actually hijacked. They gave it different interpretations and what have you. So how do we, engage moving forward?
Okay. The straight answer to it is that if you look at the antecedents from the movements of Martin Luther King to that of Nelson Mandela, no matter the unconventional means that you decide to begin, a peaceful movement or whatever you would call it, it has to be if to deploy their own powers, to scuttle that ambition of what the people want to do. But that is where our resilience will have to come in. No matter how much we talk on social media, no matter how much we tweet, if we do not put a physical strength behind it, it would not work. Whatever the National Assembly, senators, lawmakers decide to do it would be what you permit them to continue doing. If we will make it clear that it has to be a peaceful coming together, we have a right to peaceful assembly, even if most times it's just on paper and not so implemented. But that is our only tool to make sure that we demonstrate to these persons that we are a peaceful people. What we are only doing is demanding what is rightfully ours, holding government accountable so that government can work for everybody and not just a handful of persons living in extreme wealth and luxury against a majority living in poverty or extreme whatever it is called. So that is the simple answer. No matter what we do, we will have to deploy boots on the ground or legs on the streets, calling the attentions of the authorities to say, look, we are dying.
Right.
We need help.
Please go in.
So two things that we've said here.
Yeah.
When we say that a movement for a resistance is peaceful, that it is non-violent, we're implying that there was no bloodshed. Do you agree, as a student of history that you are, that any kind of resistance, has been successful without bloodshed? That's number one. Do you also think that when we say that resistance has been non-violent, we're glossing over the people who lost their lives to ensure that that thing came to be? That's number one. Two, you mentioned that we have to take a stand to say, a few people cannot be the ones gaining everything from our economy. The masses have to gain something too. Do you think a strong man that knows that he's in power, that is in charge of you, is going to willfully release his power to you? Are we surprised when we see that the government influences protests to say that they're violent, that they killed people? They put crimes on top of people who died at the toll gates. Is that not something that you expect?
Thank you. In fact, beautiful question, and there are about three. You mentioned about three issues so tied in one. So let me see how we can unpack. First of all, without glossing over the fact that people died and all of that during protests or movements like that, rest in peace to the persons who lost their lives. Do I understand that there can be no movement without bloodshed? My dear sister, what is your other option? To sit back, do nothing? Blood is being shed without protest. Yeah. As we are talking, people are being killed. Benue State, people cannot even go to farms. Agatu, Guma, go to Plateau, Rio, Mango, Zamfara, Katsina. Bandits are running sub-governmental levels under a government. You heard of the lawyer or the judge who was kidnapped with her family.
Yes.
You have had
her
first son killed. Gory stories. You saw the Owo massacre at St. Francis Xavier Catholic Church a few years ago.
Yes.
Women tied CWO wrappers, Christian mothers had their stomachs slit, their throats, died, killed on top of children. So people are dying. The question is, are we ready to take the courage to demand that we do whatever it takes as a peaceful, democratic people? Whether, from your last question, whether the government has appetite to willfully give, nobody will willfully surrender what is beneficial to them. You have to prove the point to them that, look, your time is up. Whatever it is that has been, the fiasco around all of this mismanagement and recklessness in leadership, the power of the people must always be greater than the people in power. And when we come together, there is nothing we cannot achieve.
Okay, so Peter, let's bring it home.
Okay.
Nyesom Wike said something last week, and I thought that was a very powerful statement that should not be glossed over.
Yes.
Because the same thing happened in Lagos.
Yes.
Where people were warning a certain tribe that do not come out, do not vote. And
Yes.
Nyesom Wike said, don't think that what happened in 2023 would ever repeat itself.
Yeah.
That's the height of confidence that you are not even,
Yeah.
So for me, when I heard that statement, chills came down my spine.
Yes.
That how can a minister openly admit that you circumvented the will of the people?
Yeah.
That was one. Edo State now, there's an election coming up.
Yes.
And the thing that flood could scatter was the
beavers.
thing that is supposed to help us ensure that we have a transparent election.
Yeah.
Please help me make it make sense.
I don't know how to address you, whether auntie or Mrs.
No, call me Uwa.
Uwa. The statements or the remarks of the minister, to say the least, were unfortunate. But it is a pattern. It is not new. In fact, those remarks also extended to a sort of, subtle, not subtle, direct, threat. And it even took a swipe at the sitting senator for Abuja, the woman.
Yes, that's to Senator
Kingigbe.
That was the person he was addressing.
And needless to remind you that the FCT minister does not vote in Abuja. His polling unit is in Rivers, in Port Harcourt. But he's telling you that Abuja is my territory.
Yep.
That is the power and the arrogance that Nigerian politicians have arrogated to themselves. And partly because even we, the people, have enabled them. This person has been minister for state before, has been chief of staff, has been governor. He wanted to be president, did not get the ticket, wanted to be vice president. Today he's minister for FCT. Even there is a video where the president of the country told his party people that I will give you Edo State.
Yep.
Yes.
I will give you
I was coming to that because it is after the president made that statement that the Beavers machine
had about 4,000 of them. And the mere fact that this current INEC chairman who conducted the 2023 election is still your sitting INEC chairman till date does not give anybody cause for concern. So as you have said, if you tread all of this, you will see that we are all leading to one thing. Nigerians will either choose, if we want to remain a captured people, where people who occupy public offices, who are supposed to be the servants of the people, will gleefully boast to you that they can do anything and nothing will happen because there is no deterrence or there is nothing like accountability or consequences. If we want to be captured people and allow them to continue, it is up to us. But I believe that as a people, it is once a majority of the people come together and say enough, it will be enough.
So apart from, having influential people influencing, and, people cannot influence if there's no following. So literally we're talking about, because influencing is in two dimensions. Those who are literally doing, taking out actions, effecting change in their social political space are influencers, even though they might not have the numbers and the followings, as it were.
Yeah.
And so you also have on the other strata those who are literally, who have the numbers and the followings.
They can control what
and they can control the narrative,
Yeah.
you know, in different sphere. What sort of engagement do you think that, you know, they should be having, right? You know, because we've seen how it is. I mean, even recently, as you speak right now, there's a protest that's gone on, you know, in some part of Nigeria, and we've seen that people have been arrested because they are protesting. These are protesters who are not armed. They are peaceful protesters.
Yes, carrying placards.
All carrying placards.
Yeah.
Some of them are dressed in, you know, they are dressed in the Nigerian colors, having the flag wrapped around their bodies, you know, and what are they asking for? They are complaining about the cost of living, you know, the hunger and poverty in the land. So now that, you know, we know that protest has always been a tool, you have said, whatever it is, you have to just choose, you know, the option, right? That's on the one side. What other means, what other method do you think that, you know, influencers should engage, and what should, you know, the followers or those who are following should be doing to support these influencers?
Develop a higher level of moral consciousness. As an influencer or in any space you find yourself, do not let the hardship or the pain of fellow human beings go by as nothing. We must first of all try to see life through the lenses of other persons. The privileges that you have does not mean that every person has those kind of privileges. So once you come to that understanding, you will try to put focus or redirect our attention that, look, everybody is not having it, you know, easy. What do I do? The little update you put on your status, when you see 40 persons killed in Plateau, 40 persons killed in Benue, putting it on your status, commenting. You are not only on social media, you know, to comment on trending stories about people, you know, engage in gossip and irrelevant issues that do not advance the cause of humanity in any way. They are good for entertainment, for whatever you want to do. But you should know that when we address the salient points, our lives are safer and better. So if we put that kind of focus, imagine waking up tomorrow and seeing 50 tweets or 2,000 tweets talking about the cost of living. As we are talking right now, queues have returned to filling stations. Somehow in Nigeria, fuel scarcity has become a norm. In past administrations, it was almost just at the end of the year. It was seasonal. Christmas. It was seasonal. Now, with the removal of subsidy and all of the kind of brouhaha in the petroleum sector, it is a norm. So imagine waking up tomorrow and you see even actors, musicians, anybody with a platform talking about, Mr. President, what is going on? You are the Minister for Petroleum. It begins to have a subtle effect. The government knows, no matter what they throw as the stone of distraction, you look away. Very soon now, Big Brother will come. Nigerians will move.
Who do you think are the sponsors of Big Brother?
But you know, and I'm a bit worried, just as we delve into the text and all of that. I'm just worried. I don't think that we have, because when we begin to compare ourselves and begin to look at the likes of Nelson Mandela and have them in conversations like this, I mean, it's so much. We can't even stand, we can't even, you know, be close to the feet or close to the garment of the likes of Nelson Mandela, because these men were literally selfless. They had nothing at all to benefit from all of this. There was no interest whatsoever. It was not because, you know, do you think we have these selfless people? Do you think that these influencers that were demanding all of this even thinking about the people? Do they even have the interest? Does it even bother them?
This conversation is needed.
Do
you understand? This is why this conversation is needed, because I agree with you. Now, look at movies. Do you understand? You will speak to producers, they will tell you Nigerians only like feel-good things. As far as I'm concerned, that's why I cannot go to any cinema to watch a Nigerian film. Because as far as I'm concerned, it's a waste of my time.
Same thing with
the reason a lot of these nations that we so admire, why things change for them. Look at Sarafina. They created movies. They did
told the story of their people.
They told their history. Where are they?
In Manhattan.
Do you understand? There are just too many of these movies that they have created. But look at us. We want to create film. We just go to the cinema and they just act in fact, I don't even want to, because then they're not come for me. But you guys can come for me, it's okay.
No.
Because we have to tell, we have to tell ourselves.
You have to tell ourselves the truth.
Expect us to sacrifice. Look at what you just said now.
Yeah.
Imagine if every Nigerian just decides to go on X and we're talking about the hardship or the situation of the crisis in Nigeria.
It doesn't matter.
It will change the game.
He must listen.
Because at that point, you have gotten his attention.
Yes.
So how do we start to wake people up?
We are already, the awakening has begun. The awakening, that is the good thing. No matter how bad Nigeria's situation is, it is not hopeless. A lot of Nigerians love this country. I mean, it is difficult. It is even strange for you to still find people who love Nigeria. A lot of persons will ask you, why should I be patriotic? What has the country given to me? Opportunities that were available for our fathers are not available today. The Gen Z, millennials. So as it is now, this conversation has begun. It is my hope that persons, you see me on social media every day, no matter what I do, everything I do is tied towards one thing, ensuring that humanity is better beginning from my country. Nigeria has to be better than how I met it. And in this Nigeria, we don't die here, we live here. Nigeria will be great because Nigeria has you and I. So the conversation as it continues, gradually, you will not force people. The hand of incompetence of leadership is long enough to go round. And poverty and hunger is a denominating factor. Yes, so it levels everybody. Yeah. Today now, everybody is talking about fuel. Whether you were part of a Yoruba, Ronu, a Milokon, obedient, articulated, you are not buying fuel different. You are not buying bread differently.
And the flood is hitting.
The flood is hitting you. If you like, stay even in VGC, the highbrow areas. Flood is hitting anybody who, lives where there is no proper drainage. So that is the common denominator. Everybody will come around. And by the time we come around, we'll begin to ask ourselves, what should we begin with? Which is electoral reform. And that is where I have been putting my focus to ensure that in 2027, Nigerians have the opportunity to vote in their leaders.
My fear. Wait, sorry, my darling. My fear. With what the minister, I'll go back to Nyesom Wike. With what he said, do you think we can ever have a free and fair election in Nigeria ever again?
And then, just to add to what she has said, it's not about the reforms. Yeah. I don't want to say the word, we're national television. Yeah. But the truth is, I was devastated because I was part of the people who literally were monitoring this election. I can tell you how sad I felt. Not sad about the outcome, but sad about the process. Yeah. Because, of course, if I'm sad about the outcome, that means the process that led to the outcome was truncated. Yeah. The question is, there was an electoral reform. Yeah. The introduction of the BVAS was the best thing that would have happened. Yeah. Remember the time where a lot of people were lauding President Muhammadu Buhari for signing the Electoral Act. And I remember a governorship candidate or aspirant in one of these states who was literally saying, I am not a fan of Muhammadu Buhari, but for the fact that he had given access to that electoral
act, like when they signed,
the best thing that would happen. But even with the introduction of the BVAS, we still had all of these issues. So I don't think that it's about the reform. It's about the people.
No, my very beloved sisters. In fact, look, thank you for this conversation. It is not about the BVAS. Nigerians.
It is not about the electoral reforms.
It is about the electoral reform. But look, we will have to pay attention to detail. The 2022 electoral bill that was signed by President Buhari was a setup for what happened in 2023. What we need to do is to pay attention to strengthening that bill, that law. Once you sign a law and you say that we want to do electronic transmission, but you leave it to the electoral umpire to decide how he wants to conduct it. And immediately the result is Nigeria spent 313 billion on last year's election. And immediately the results came out. The President Buhari said that anybody who is not okay, go to court. President Buhari, all the time he contested for presidency 3 times before he won the 4th time. Anytime he lost, he went to court. And the court upheld the result of the person in power. So what we need to do is to ensure that we insist on strengthening that law. That is our only option, no? Because if you decide not to go through the electoral reform, what other pattern do you want to use to pick your leaders in a democracy? We are not a monarchy.
So I totally understand.
Unfortunately, we ran out of time. Just one comment. So Derry Piscasso says, if we're sincere about the national development indices, we are in a retrogressive state.
Okay.
Side note, the lady in red is beautiful and she has a lovely voice. Okay. Maybe that's your fan. I'd love to hear this good man speak again. He speaks from a place of immense knowledge and clarity. And Talent Speaks says, amazing conversation. I mean, we love you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I said it that I knew we were going to have a great conversation. And please be a friend of the house, because for me, I think the only way, and this, with what you've said, you acted what you know how you put your money where your mouth is. Because some people, they are activists on social media. When you invite them for conversation, they will ask you what platform. You didn't do all of that. It means that for you, it is the issues that we need to push forward. And as we keep on pushing those conversations, spreading the videos all over the place, let people just hear.
Yes.
And maybe some level of change will happen. So the lady with the beautiful voice, do you want to say something quickly? Somebody's admiring you.
I want to just quickly say that when we give the impression that any kind of resistance will happen without bloodshed, we're deceiving the people that we need to partake in the process, right? So we need to start saying that this is what it will cost you, right? We need to have that conversation. That's number one. Two, for influential people that we're holding to a certain standard, it's an issue of, it's a matter of demand, you know. If people want feel-good movies, these are businessmen. They will do feel-good movies. So we, as the populace, we need to say that when this content comes out, we will consume it. Even if the larger populace will not consume the kind of content that will teach history and get people to, you know, rise up, we will consume it. So we need to do that. I think we owe them that.
Messi. Let's leave it for our guests. Final comment.
Nigeria, as bad as it is not a hopeless situation. It would be difficult, but not impossible. Great nations are nations that were built by resilient people who, in spite of all the challenges, were determined to make a difference. Nigeria will be great because Nigeria has you and I. We are our last hope. Let us come together and salvage this country for the best interest of all of us. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think we had a fantastic conversation. Let's see you continue after this. Thank you. Before we go, ensure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us across all our social media handles. And if you missed our quote for today, here it is again. True leadership lies in guiding others to success, in ensuring that everyone is performing at their best, doing the work they are pledged to do, and doing it well. We'll see you guys tomorrow live at 8 p.m. as we bring another great conversation to your screen.